So what we're going to do today is we are going to talk about intentional imbalance. Now, if you've read The One Thing as many times as I have, you're going to find that this book mirrors The One Thing a lot, which is great. It's a different take on what Gary's already said. But one of the things I want to read to you is that Jack Welch, who knows who Jack Welch is? Yeah, Deanna, who's Jack Welch? Oh, you're Ford CEO. I think I heard you say, yes, he's the CEO of Ford was. And he said, there's no such thing as work-life balance. You guys hear me? Remove work-life balance from your vocabulary because it doesn't exist. There's no such thing as work-life balance. There are work-life choices and you make them and they have consequences. So this chapter is about intentional imbalance. Who can tell me, take a guess if you didn't read the chapter, but if you did read the chapter, I'd love to hear from you. What is intentional imbalance? What's intentional imbalance? Deanna.
That is creating, you're making a choice basically. If you have something happening on with your family, your work has to stay in the background because you have to focus on your family.
Yeah, so it's intentionally, you're intentionally imbalanced because you're constantly, as Gary says, counterbalancing. Sometimes you spend more time at work and less in personal. Sometimes you spend more time here. Your time is not balanced. It's not equal. And so what happens is, listen to this, guys. This is the aha. When you force yourself to think in terms of work-life balance, then you start feeling guilty when you don't have it. But if it doesn't exist anyway, how can you have what doesn't exist? Right? So it's all of these things that have been drilled into us since we were children or young adults. You know, you got to have balance in your life. You got to have work-life balance. The truth of the matter is work-life balance doesn't exist. It's a constant tension of counterbalancing. Here's what's important about it is that you must add intentionality around it. So for example, instead of you work, here's an example of it. And you hit the wall and you're like, I got to have a 3-day weekend, and you take a 3-day weekend. What does it look like when you say, okay, I'm going to play full out on this for the next 3 weeks, and then I'm taking the third Friday off? It's an intentional balance or intentional counterbalance, an intentional imbalance, I guess I should say, where you intentionally take that time, you plan for it. Okay, here's what the book says. Life balance is not about equal time. This is on page 62. Life balance is not about equal time in each area. Life balance is more about intentional imbalance. Intentional imbalance. At different times in your life, you will choose. Here's that word again. If it's to be, it's up to who? Me, everybody. Me. If it's to be, it's up to me. All right. At different times in your life, you will choose to focus on one area over another. And that's perfectly fine, provided that it's intentional. It's intentional. All right. So here's what I'd like for you to do. Get out a piece of paper and a pen. You're going to do a little bit of work. And then I'm very hopeful that we've been on this call enough together that you guys will be comfortable in being vulnerable and sharing with one another. Okay. So I want you to write down these 3 areas. Okay. I want you to draw. Well, actually, you don't even need to draw. We're just going to actually just get you to write them down. So the first one I want first, and you're going to do one on top of the other. So write one here, one here, one here, and just go down. First thing I want you to write at the top is spiritual. And spiritual is whatever it means to you. This is preparing us, guys, for the work that you're going to do every day this week. Spiritual. Right underneath it, I want you to write spouse/partner. Okay. Family underneath that. Underneath that, community. Underneath that, physical. Underneath that, personal. And the very last thing, intentionally, is business. Okay. Now, I want to say something. I'm going to get you to rate yourself here in just a second, but I want to say something about spouse partner. People choose to be single, just so you know. So, my best friend, if I were to ask her how she feels about that, she's single, she would give that a 10 because she'd be very happy about that, right? So, there is no judgment around this. This is you, right? So here's what I'd like for you to do. I'd like for you to rate your level of satisfaction. Now, listen to me before you get started. Rate your level of satisfaction from 1, not satisfied, to 10, very satisfied. And I'm not going to ask you to share these things unless you want to, but I'd like for you to go through and I would like for you to start rating them right now. 1, not satisfied, 10, satisfied. Take a second and do that. Okay, everybody got their rating? All right. So a score of 10 would be the best that you can be, or as satisfied as you can be. And then 1 would be like, nope, not satisfied at all. Okay. So here's the thing. Each of these areas is either a source of energy or a drain of energy. Okay. So if your work life is stressful, full of uncertainty and unfulfilling, it's bound to affect your personal life. If your career provides you a nice income and you're pretty happy, then you get momentum across all other areas. That's an example. Okay. Here's what we're going to do over the next 4 or 5 days is you are individually going to look at your own plan and you're going to say, okay, which of these areas of my life do I have the least satisfaction and I would like to change? This is not all about business. As a matter of fact, you may find that it may be less about business than you think. And then if it's not, that's okay as well. But what are the areas? So now what I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you to go through and I'd like for you to circle the 3 areas you are least satisfied. Circle the 3 areas that you are least satisfied. And then I want you to put a star beside the 3 that you're most satisfied. Just save that piece of paper, put it away somewhere, recopy it in your phone, take a picture of it with your phone so that you have it and you don't lose it, because you're going to be using that as we go through the last 5 or 6 chapters of this book. Great. We're going to go to the next. So save that, take a picture of it because you're going to be using it. Now, we're going to run to here, and I mean run because I only have 12 minutes left and because I want to set you up for success for the rest of the week. And also I want to go through a few things to set us up. So I'm on page 73 of the book. So if you've got the book in front of you, I'm on page 73. I've moved to what's called the execution system. The execution system. So what I know about this page, and I loved it because I went back through and I read it over and over, and I can really geek out, just so you know, I can really geek out on these kinds of graphs and stuff like that, but I won't do that to you this morning, I promise. I'm going to take you through page 73 in layman's terms. And why is it important that we go through page 73? Because as we put our 12-week year together this week, you're going to have a lot of fun with it. Then you're going to start doing it. And then you're going to start getting hit with the cost of what you have to say no to or potentially give up to execute on it. And it's going to get hard. I'm just promising you, it's going to get hard. And if it doesn't, good for you. But for me, I know I'm probably the only one of you that will get to the hard part and want to give up. I'm sure no one else will get there, but I will. So you guys can help me. And then once you push through that valley of despair, you'll get out on the other side and it will be just like, hey, this is normal. And it's so funny because I just watched my husband. He doesn't even know he just did this, but I just watched him do it. Our daughter began selling Arbonne, Lynette. She began selling Arbonne, right? And so, of course, my husband wanted to support his beautiful daughter in our beautiful daughter in this endeavor. And so he signed up for her 30-day challenge, right? This weight loss challenge, or not weight loss, getting healthy challenge, right? Which is interesting because my husband only eats meat and potatoes. That's it. And spinach. Those are his 3 things. That's it. And lots of sugar, right? And you can't do that on this whole food diet. And it's so awesome because in a 30-day time frame, I watched him go through page 72. Page 72. It was so interesting. The wonderful thing is he made it through. You know why he made it through? You know why? Who knows why?
Motivation to reach the goal and to not disappoint his daughter.
That's the reason. The vision was stronger than anything else. So what I'm going to tell you is as we go through this, we're going to be talking about tomorrow creating our vision. The motivation not to disappoint Keely was way, way more important than him not eating the things that he wanted to eat. Was way more important. It was that important to him because he didn't want to disappoint her and he wanted to help her in her business. And now guess who started the 30-day challenge today? Because I mean, if he did it, I got to do it, right? I mean, and I don't want to disappoint her. So it's awesome. So we're gonna talk about this. So the first stage is the most exciting stage, and this is what we're going to be doing tomorrow. We're going to imagine all the benefits of all the positive things that are going to occur on the end of this 12-week year. Our emotions are going to be driven by what's called uninformed optimism. Write that down. Uninformed optimism. Uninformed optimism. And that's on page 73. You're going to be thinking about the benefits of the change. We're going to talk about the vision tomorrow and what your life is going to look like and how things are going to look and how they're going to be different or how they're going to be better. Or like Catherine said, 12 months later, here she is, right? Then what will happen as we go through this 12-week year, we are going to really get into reality pretty quickly about what it takes to make the change possible. And we're going to start getting into a different mindset. And this is called informed pessimism. Informed pessimism. And I know Tara Olson knows about this because she's an Iron woman. And when you are working out and Amanda Finning, same with her, Karen Wilkinson, many of you, Stephanie Ross that I see in the gym on your Facebook, you know about this because you start getting into it and you realize that the 5 a.m. wake up call and getting to the gym by 5:15 is what it takes to make the change, right? This is called informed pessimism for a reason because the benefits don't seem as real. We start getting really irritated at this point. Then the third stage is the valley of despair. And this is when most people give up, right? This is when most people give up and you say, it wasn't so bad. I'll just go back to doing things the way that I used to because that wasn't so bad. And that's called the valley of despair. That's where we have rose-colored glasses and we look back and we say, oh, that relationship wasn't that bad. I wish I still had that person. Or we say, eating that stuff wasn't so bad. I mean, at least I was happy. I'm not going to spend my whole life depriving myself. Has any of you ever had those thoughts in your head? Is it just me? Right? We say, well, maybe I should have just stayed where I was. And I'm going to help you push through that over the next 12 weeks. Because
fear. I said fear.
Say it again.
Fear.
Fear. Tool time, Tara. There she is. It's fear. We get in the valley of despair. That's fear. You're absolutely right. The next piece is when we move into, and at this point, I'm sorry, the compelling vision is critical. So when we're in the valley of despair, the compelling vision is critical. So when we're working through this vision, guys, make sure that it is a compelling vision for you. Next page, page 74. So when we move into informed optimism, this is when we start seeing the results. So how many of you have ever been on a weight loss journey? I know I'm the only one. And we work out and we actually gain weight. Has anyone ever done that? Yeah. Yeah. You gain weight and you're like in the valley of despair. And then you've got someone encouraging you, right? You've got someone encouraging you that keeps you moving forward. And then you actually start seeing the weight come off the scale and you're like, wow, okay, well, this is working. This is working. And I have a renewed sense of purpose. And then the last is the success and fulfillment pace, the fulfillment stage. And the scary thing about the fulfillment stage is that only 20% of you will get there. So we have 24 people on this Zoom, and we usually have about 30 people watching online. So that's 50 people. So only 20% of you will get to that fulfillment stage. 80% will give up. Will you be one of the 20% or will you be the 80? That's the question. Remember last week, we talked about the fact that you are more than your feelings. Remember that? We talked about you are more than your feelings. Your feelings will tell you one thing, and yet you must push through and do the thing that's going to push through and get you on the other side to success. And so we're going to encourage each other. So let me tell you what's going to happen over the next 12 weeks. Over the next 12 weeks, we are going to start another book, right? And yet at the beginning of each call, we're going to take about 5 or 6 minutes and we're going to check in with each other on our 12-week year. We're not going to drop this because I don't know about you, but I've got some pretty big goals that I want to attain. And I crave having someone in my life, you guys, to be able to talk to you about the ups and downs of that and to push through. Is that okay if we do that together? Raise your hand, thumbs up. All right, awesome. All right, so let's talk about tomorrow. So tonight, read pages or chapters 13 and 14. Chapters 13 and 14. Here's where we're going to get vulnerable with one another. Come with your vision written down. Be ready to share it. I'm not going to ask all of you to share it, but I am going to ask you to please volunteer and share it. I'm going to share mine with you. And you have no idea who you might inspire by sharing your vision. So sharing your vision is about you and for others. You have no idea who you might inspire by sharing your vision. So let's show up tomorrow, share your vision. Now, some of you may be thinking, wow, Becky, I just don't feel like this. And here's what I'd like for you to remember. You are more than what you feel. You are absolutely, positively more than what you feel. Remember, your amygdala is doing what? Somebody tell me what your amygdala is doing in your brain.
Fight or flight.
Fight or flight. Your amygdala is trying to save you. It's trying to keep you from doing the things that are going to cause you pain. But the brain doesn't understand that sometimes the good stuff might cause you a little pain. So the prefrontal cortex is where we have to train it to be louder than our amygdala. That means getting up and exercising. That means getting up and going for a walk on the beach. That means getting up and going for a walk outside. That means getting up and meditating. That means getting up and moving so that you can train your prefrontal cortex to be louder than your amygdala. So if right now you are getting into a little bit of fear about this vision, understand that that's just this place in your brain trying to control you because it's asking you to, it's that fear, a response. Don't give into it. You are more than what you feel. That prefrontal cortex will pull you through. So if you don't know what I'm talking about because you haven't been on this call, go back and read the first part of 12-week year. It's going to go through it. But in the interim, tomorrow we're going to go through pages 13 and 14, which is about your vision. You guys ready? You ready? Give me a thumbs up. Thumbs up if you're ready. All right, I want to hear some vision tomorrow. All right, have an amazing, amazing day, guys. It's beautiful outside. Those of you that are in Vermont, go get a snowball fight or something. Do something fun and post it online. I'll talk to you guys soon.